Hello and welcome to the Simply Trade News Roundup. I'm your host, Annik, and I am here with a special guest. Her name is Natalie Zink. She is first of all, thank you for joining us, but I'm so delighted to record with you. She's an experienced attorney and thought leader in the world of trade compliance and education. We started to kind of get in contact because I saw her LinkedIn, and that's how it usually goes. I scroll through LinkedIn and then someone catches my attention and I'll follow them for a few days and I'll look more into them and then I'm like, okay, I'll pull the trigger and I'll start. I think I actually immediately wrote you because you had such an incredible post on your education and because so little background, Natalie took classes at Global Training Center and she wrote up a really, really nice review on her LinkedIn. She, saw a reason to take any kind of compliance courses. So I thought that was kind of thoughtful and amazing to see someone, in your position to still further their education in an education that you don't really need to have because it's not anything that you need to practice law, right? You don't need to take these compliance courses to be in your position. So anyways, thank you so much for coming on, Natalie, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I want to get into it real quick. I kind of addressed you taking these compliance courses. What made you want to take courses in general, to take compliance education courses, trade compliance?
That's a good question. I think mostly I was looking to expand my experience and talk to people that are working more in in-house roles. For instance, in my career, I started my career as an attorney at the U.S. Department of Commerce, working on anti-dumping and countervailing duties work, and then I transitioned to private practice. And I found that when I was working in private practice, I was talking directly with importers, C-suites, business people, and I really didn't have the view of what it's like to run an in-house trade compliance program, such as, what decisions are these compliance professionals making? How are they making them? How are the teams organized? Are they going through sales typically? Are they going through finance? How many people are on a team? you know, things of that nature. So, of course, I also wanted to gain some foundational understanding into the basics of trade compliance, such as customs, tariff classification, country of origin, even issues such as Incoterms and USMCA rules. But I really wanted to have a one-on-one experience with compliance professionals from many different sectors, many different size companies, and just kind of get to ask questions and kind of learn where the pressure points are, who's being brought in for different levels of decision making and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up because you were talking. I'm not sure which courses exactly you took, but you did mention tariff classification. I know you took that one. You took country of origin, and did you take our valuation one? The valuation one of.
I don't believe so, but maybe that's a good recommendation.
Well, the way I'm saying this because you kind of addressed the three pillars of import compliance. With the three pillars of import compliance is tariff classification, origin, and then valuation. So I thought that's the loop you made because I know the Global Training Center has an on-demand. They don't have valuation necessarily as a webinar, but they do have it as an on-demand, and it's like I think it's like an hour long. So pretty easy to take. But that's what it reminded me of. But what most importantly, when you took those classes, did you learn, like, what was the number one thing you learned or what you got out of it?
I think first and foremost, I gained an appreciation for the sheer volume of work that in-house teams manage and do. I also think as an attorney, especially as a younger attorney, I'm younger in my practice, we tend to be so...
You're young regardless.
Thank you, perpetually, right? We tend to focus on perfection a bit. And I think talking with trade professionals, looking at, issues such as getting documents from a producer or manufacturer to, kind of support an origin determination, or, just looking at the sheer amount of decisions teams are making in a day. I think I have more appreciation for and more insight into how to advise teams on how to direct their energy to make better business decisions and how to mitigate risk without kind of needing to have this everything is perfectly 100% immaculately done.
I don't want to talk for all lawyers, but it seems like if you have that back knowledge of what's really going on, what they're supposed to do, like, from step by taking these courses, you're kind of more aware on finding scenarios that they can do better, or finding ways that they can have a smoother running business.
Yeah, I think kind of just going off of that, I think it's really important to remember international trade is very cross-disciplinary. You have policy, you have, business decisions, you have legal decisions, and you have compliance decisions. So kind of going off of your point, I think as an attorney, it's important to remember the business and compliance aspects to making your decisions and to giving your legal advice. We're not dealing with of course, everything needs to be to the letter of the law to be defensible, but also understanding the business rationale behind compliance decisions and what's given priority and perhaps additional resources and what is not is really helpful. So I definitely stay in more of a legal realm. Business decisions need to be made by the decision makers within a business. And my job is just to advise on legal possibilities of that as an attorney. But definitely there's a lot of dancing between these different disciplines.
I know that, the classes that you took there have a lot of free speech for the attendee, so you get to ask questions, and I feel like maybe that's for you as a lawyer, you can see what questions or what difficulties these attendees have, so you can make note of that those are challenges that people are currently dealing with, finding ways to see, okay, who needs help that we can make their lives a little easier. But did you get any word of that? Did you hear anyone, voice their opinions in the class where you're like, oh my God, good thought. I didn't think about that. Or I never realized, that's how they were thinking.
Yeah, I think one such instance was in the tariff classification class I took. It was led by a broker. I forget his name. I'm so sorry, but he did a really great job of being engaging and just kind of prompting audience participation. And we were talking about whether or not, for one importer, compliance professional that was in the course was asking whether or not he had sufficient documentation to support an origin determination. And the broker was saying perhaps it was enough information to clear the entry. But then I brought to the conversation, well, like, what happens when enforcement comes? Like, do you want this to be a decision you have to think about for the next 5 years? But when CB
Yeah.
and review this. So it was interesting, like, just to have different perspectives, kind of focus on different points of the transaction or different points of the import. And then also to see the compliance professional kind of sitting in the middle and kind of discussing with both sides.
I actually think that's so funny because I spoke on the opposite end, but now I'm twisting the sides a little, and you bring a lot of knowledge into those trainings because you questioning, the instructor, kind of interesting and entertaining because you have a different kind of areas, than these trade compliance people. You are on the opposite end. So
Going off of that, I think it's important to see and to appreciate the value add of each part of the team, so to speak. Like the value add
yes.
of the broker, the value add of the compliance professional, and the value add of the attorney, right? And each part of the chain, so to speak, has a different experience with like the import and also has a different depth of knowledge. So like the broker is doing a whole bunch of entries every single day, doing a bunch of classifications. So they can see a lot of trends, right? As to how a
Yeah.
certain widget is being classified and certain issues that are occurring for a particular widget in an industry. And then you have the in-house team, which of course they're the experts on the product. They know how to get different documents. They're able to kind of give an attorney or a broker insight into business decisions. And then you have the attorney, which is really, really good at helping with enforcement, managing legal risk, and also kind of giving a certain type of legal certainty to protect margins and, help guide business decisions, which, are sometimes very high value. So I don't see it so much as me like questioning the instructor or questioning people in the compliance field, but kind of like kicking the tires just to gain a little insight and to learn a little bit about their value add and try to take a little bit of that away with me from the course.
each of one of your positions makes up the entire trade community, and the communication between those levels, I think is so crucial to fulfill yourself in the best way and to fulfill the industry in the best way, because there's so many struggles that we're facing that no one can really, factor in at all times because of there's so much uncertainty, unfortunately. That communication helps on all your parts. And I'm glad you got that out of it. I do want to say, did you gain any credits from that? Are you able to get credits as a lawyer on these kind of courses?
I did not, my goal was not credit, so I don't know whether they would have any, would help me on my credentials at all. I don't think so. I don't know if they are CLE, I don't know if certified is the right word, but I took them purely because I just wanted the knowledge. And I
I
thought
love
it
that.
was a efficient way. I had a break in between opportunities. I was like, okay, let's dedicate some full days to trade compliance.
You know what? That is incredible of you.
I guess I would just encourage attorneys or trade professionals alike, whether or not, of course, it's great if you have to work towards getting credits for something to do so. But of course, there's
Yeah.
value outside of that as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, customs broker earn these credits, and they're needed, to keep their customs broker's license. But I was curious if that was the ability in your field. But you clearly were doing it for your knowledge, and I know a lot of people are too, because at this moment in time, it's so crucial to have your trade compliance team on the same page and really up to par with everything that's going on, just to eliminate those huge fines that they could get, especially in the tariff environment. And moving forward, is there something that are there some struggles that you see coming ahead, or is there anything that you can say, to for the entire industry to just follow to be compliant or stay compliant? And
Yeah, I think, of course, I wish I had a crystal ball like anyone in the trade space
don't we all?
now. Yeah, that would be great for business, right? I think mostly what we're looking for now is the IEPA Supreme Court decision of whether or not tariffs under IEPA are lawful. So I think we're expecting a decision on that in a couple weeks or maybe a month. It's likely there'll be some type of potential. I don't even want to speak about a prediction. It's just stay tuned on that one. And then also, I think I would just point out the importance of documentation in this enforcement landscape. If you can't document a decision or kind of show your work, so to speak, you probably have not met your reasonable care standard. So I would just be careful with that, especially in a landscape where we're seeing a lot of fraud enforcement cases, EAPA investigations, things of that nature. Just show your work.
I love that you're saying documentation, because I feel like everyone says document, which is just shows how crucial it is. I mean, everyone puts so much emphasis on it, and especially now when it comes to the refunds. We don't know what's going to happen, but if there are any refunds and you don't have any documentation, you're screwed.
Yeah, and I think too, like if there are refunds, which we don't know about yet,
Right.
of course it's going to be an administrative hassle, so to speak. So just making sure that everything is neat and tidy in the event that importers can apply for a refund. Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, as Global Training Center being the sponsor of Simply Trade podcast, well, first of all, we want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing not just about, the training itself, but just why you wanted to further your education, why you wanted to understand more on what, the industry is learning, or trade compliance professionals are doing, and what their processes are. And we just really appreciate that. And it's just incredible how many resources there are and how many people are trying to help, especially on LinkedIn, how you shared it with your followers, and just the community itself helping each other, asking questions and making comments, and you coming on the podcast and sharing your experience and sharing what you learned and how you want to move forward. I think it's incredible, so I want to thank you for that. And also good luck at your new position.
Way of phrasing it. Well, thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a different style of what we've seen, and I'm sure with Natalie I could talk more technicalities, but the sense of it was just to get educated and to know, about your surrounding areas and to really understand the art of trade. Is that even a thing? The art of trade. That's actually a great way to say it. So maybe that'll be the title of the episode, The Art of Understanding the Art of Trade. But thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Natalie, for coming on. It was I really enjoyed our conversation. And we will see you back next week for another episode. So thanks for listening. And again, follow us anywhere and ask questions if you have any. And we'll be here for you. Bye.